Welcome back to Insert Brain.
Insert brain here.
Microphone sitting on the desk. Go on, professional.
I know. Professional outfit here.
Don't even have a glass of water.
No, coffee's long finished. If not, long cold.
Aye.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Insert Brain here, a Simpsons podcast. I'm your host, Connor, and with me, as always, and for the last time this season, is my co-host, David.
That's me.
That's right, it's the end of season 1. We've finished it up. We finally got here. It's been a crawl across jagged glass. We finally made it. In this episode, we're going to sit and rank every episode in the first season. My ranking and your ranking from 13th place at the bottom, our least favourite, our respective least favourite.
Yeah.
All the way up to our respective favourite.
First. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Awesome.
Oh, I think we've described that rather aptly. We can jump
Jump in, aye.
David, what's your 13th spot? What's your 13th reason for committing suicide? Like the hit Netflix series 13 Reasons Why. What's your 13th reason?
Well, let me just get my piece of paper out.
Oh, you've written a physical list.
I've got it on paper. I think
Mine's
you've got
a
yours.
digital list contained within a computer.
I didn't think much about how I was laying it out and how I was going to write it out. I did actually do it on a PowerPoint for a podcast.
Well, one day there will be a video element to this podcast.
One day.
For future
it's
recaps.
A terrible PowerPoint because it was made like
we won't use that PowerPoint. But if you'd wanted to do one, season 3 I think is hopefully when we're going to start doing a video element
at some point. Yes. Hopefully season 3. That's our aim.
That's the goal.
Our aim. Yeah.
What's your 13th
so my
reason?
13th episode in my choice is Homer's Night Out.
Homer's Night Out. It's the episode where Homer goes to a bachelor party.
Yeah.
And there's the belly dancer, and Homer gets snapped dancing with the belly dancer by Bart, and the picture gets circulated around town. Mm-hmm. And Marge is very upset about this because she finds out about it, and I think she kicks him out.
Yes, she does. Yes. So my reasoning for it being 13. Right at the bottom there. It was quite a difficult decision, actually, I found, because there was a lot of episodes I was like, I didn't particularly enjoy that aspect of it.
You looked at 13 episodes and went, any of these could be in last place. These all suck.
No.
I hate The Simpsons.
No.
What am I doing here? It's a bad season when it's hotly contended who's going to be in last place.
I was meaning about the bottom 4, I'd say.
Right, okay. That's fair.
I would say they were about as good and about as bad as each other. So the bad points, I felt like, for me, were about as bad as each other, and the good points of them were about as good as each other,
when I did my 13th spot, which we'll get to in a moment, I'll let you carry on.
Yeah.
I knew immediately what my least favourite episode was.
Really?
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. Good. Glad to hear it.
It's there.
All right. Why did you particularly like this episode? Because I thought it was fine.
What I liked about it was the whole spy camera sort of stuff with Bart. I really quite enjoyed that.
We talked in the episode about how much we loved the dark room.
Yes, the dark room. Because we
pestering the postwoman. Where's my spy camera? Where's my spy? That's a classic.
Yeah. But we've both studied photography, so we really appreciated the dark room.
Yes, we both have. Yes.
Well,
we've both been in a dark room together. One of us was working on photographs. One of us was
sitting on top of the
strumming away on a bass guitar, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aye. One of us was playing
a bass guitar I found in the dark room.
Was it?
It was. Yeah,
I always thought that was your guitar. I always wondered why I've never seen you play.
I have a bass guitar, but it wasn't that guy. It wasn't that guitar.
Oh.
That was just one that was sitting in the dark room in a corner, and I just picked it up, climbed the top.
The revolving door
to get into the dark room, and I just sat there. Yeah, and I just sat there and played the guitar
whilst I was developing photographs.
Yes. Was that while I was on the course doing photography, or was that when I was doing phys
That
com?
was after you had left the college altogether, I believe.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes. That was after you had left the college and I was still there, and you came back to pay me a visit.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
And the lecturer came in and saw me and went, "You're right."
I believe his exact words were "health and safety, boys." Aye?
That was him on the way out. Health and safety, boys.
Health and safety.
Yeah. But I was like, yeah, all right. I just stayed with him.
He looked up at you between your legs because you had one leg on either side of the revolving door. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so we both really appreciated the dark room scene, which was really quite well done.
Mm.
But what I really didn't sort of like was the story. Didn't really make much sense because we talked in the episode when we were actually reviewing this episode in our podcast.
Insert brain here.
Insert brain, yeah. Plug it, I suppose.
If you've somehow got this far without hearing of the podcast that you're listening to. Yeah.
Well, when we were talking about this episode, we did go through the fact that the belly dancer wasn't supposed to be a belly dancer in the original sort of writing of the script.
It was meant to be a stripper.
It was supposed to be a stripper, which would have made sense.
Yeah,
with
dancing
Marge
on stage
reacting
with a
the
stripper,
way that definitely, I'm getting caught with like photograph dancing around with a stripper.
By your son, definitely. By your 10-year-old son.
Definitely. Definitely a problem. But a belly dancer?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
A belly dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Belly dancing.
When I was in
just
primary
happens
school,
to look moderately erotic. It's not actually remotely erotic.
Yeah, when I was in primary school, there were classmates I had who would do belly dancing.
Yeah,
and I was
same here. Actually.
Yeah, like little children.
Yeah,
it's not an inherently erotic thing.
Exactly, it's just a form of dance, and it's not even remotely close to stripping. To stripping or to that sort of.
It's not even close to burlesque.
No, it's not. But anyway. So yeah, I thought it was like a major overreaction, and especially considering it's fairly early. Homer hadn't done all that much.
Yeah,
at least in that episode so far.
I think there was at least one other fuck up that he had.
There definitely was one other problem. What was that? The one with Homer gets the bowling ball called Homer.
Yeah, that was
I think that's after that, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So at this point, so far, it seems a bit more of an overreaction.
Yeah, because this was only
what's this, like 6?
10.
10?
It's season 1, episode 10. Holy shit. Oh, yeah, because it went up recently, that episode.
Oh, yes, I did. Well, okay, whatever. It's probably
so it was definitely
less of an overreaction, but it felt like, when I was remembering it anyway, it felt like it was an earlier episode. Yeah, so...
So this was after the call of the Simpsons and Life on the Fast Lane.
Okay.
Wow.
Fair enough. Well, anyway.
Why is Marge in the club at the end?
Yeah, why is Marge just randomly in that club?
She didn't know where they were, and there's no reason for her to go there. She just shows up because the story needs her to be there.
Yeah, needs her to see it. So it just doesn't make much sense. It's kind of all over the place, and I didn't really like it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so that's why that one's 13 on my list. And I am going to write numbers next to these fuckers as I go. Hey, that's the first time I swore this episode.
No, it's the 5th time you swore this episode. Multiple times.
Right, okay, well, it's the first time I noticed swearing.
I clock them every time because I'm like, should I edit that out?
Right.
I sometimes...
Is that necessary?
I try to minimise it as much as I can.
So there's times that you've literally edited out.
Yeah.
Me swearing.
Where I'm like,
It doesn't really need to be there.
And sometimes I physically can't. Because it just ruins the flow of the audio, and I'm like, great, good.
Good, that's definitely in there.
My number 13
is
Call of the Simpsons.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gee whiz, man. I was not a fan of this episode. In the episode that we recorded talking about it, I think I voiced that I wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah.
Just the way that it's structured, I wasn't a huge fan of. I like the concept of the Simpsons getting lost in the wilderness, but that's only one of the 3 acts.
Yeah.
The second act, I think, is kind of pretty strong.
Yeah.
It doesn't take full advantage of the setting, but I like the subplot with Maggie and the bears. I like the way that Homer and Bart are separated from Marge and Lisa, and Marge and Lisa get on fine in the wilderness.
Yeah.
First act's fine. I like
Big Bob.
I like Big Bob and his Van Seal stuff. Yeah. Feels like a character out of True Romance, which wasn't out at this point, but that's very... I'm a big fan of Big Bob. Big fan of Big Bob.
Yes.
And then the third act, where Homer gets mistaken for a Sasquatch, is, I think, one of the, in terms of the first 10 seasons, which people usually refer to as the golden age of the show. Thereabouts, anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the points where a joke has fallen flat the hardest.
Yeah, it's pointless and dreadful.
Yeah,
really.
It's a really bad way to end that episode.
Yeah.
I like the National Explorer kind of fake newspaper headline joke. Yeah. And that is the only thing in the third act that works.
Realistically, they should have just stopped. Just put that in if they're going to put anything in, and then that's it. That should have been the end.
I think a funnier joke would have been if they were really struggling being out in the wilderness, is revealing that they were actually very close to civilization the entire time.
Yeah, just out the back of the Quickie Mart or something.
They fall out of the bramble, the weeds, the trees, and find themselves in a familiar location just outside of Springfield.
Yeah. That would have definitely been much better.
But this episode really didn't do it for me.
Right.
No, there's another really funny joke. The best joke in the season, I think we called it in this episode, but I don't know if that's really true. When Homer's trying to trap the rabbit and he launches it into the air.
Yeah.
But I just felt structure-wise it was very weak.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So that's my bottom spot.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah.
There we go. Moving on to, what's your number 12?
Some Enchanted Evening.
Oh, that's the one with the babysitter. Some Enchanted Evening is the episode where Homer and Marge have a falling out because Homer doesn't appreciate Marge.
Yeah.
She phones Dr. Marvin Monroe's radio station and Homer hears the radio broadcast at work.
Yeah.
In order to make it up to Marge, he treats her to a nice night out in the town, an enchanted evening, you could even call it.
Yep.
And when doing so, has to hire a babysitter to look after Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. But the babysitter that they hire is actually a criminal who robs the house.
Yep. Gets tied up by the kids.
That is the episode.
And then Homer sets her free.
Yeah. Wow. What did you not like about this episode?
Well, I thought it had a couple of strong points. Some of the story I quite liked. I liked the theory behind it. I liked the fact that Marge finally got a half-decent husband for an evening.
For one evening.
Yeah, for one evening and one evening only. The fact that Maggie breaks out and frees the kids, that's awesome. But, and the bit Marge is drawn thick as fuck.
Marge is very sexy in this episode.
Yes.
We try not to make this a podcast that objectifies women. You're not supposed to laugh at that. That's not a joke.
No, that sounds stuck in my throat.
I said try.
Yeah.
I would plough the shit out of Marge.
Oh, yeah.
In this episode. The way that she's drawn in this episode, especially. Maybe not that scene where she's putting her makeup on and she turns around to Bart or Lisa.
Weird. Yeah, Lisa I think,
and her face is all drawn
weird. Yeah,
like a Dr. Seuss character.
Yeah.
Maybe not then.
No,
but when she's wearing the blue thing with the things.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So what I really didn't like about the episode.
Not enough of that.
Not enough of that. They could have. They clearly had the capability to draw it.
Whole episode of that, please.
A lot of the animation. I think we spoke about this when we were covering this episode.
I have more notes on it in trivia as well. There is a trivia segment this episode.
Yes, there is. We'll get there one day, probably. 3
blind mice trivia.
So what I really didn't like is a lot of the animation. A lot of the animation was really sort of detracted from the actual episode. And you spend so much time just squinting at the animation more than actually paying attention to the evening that they're supposed to be having. Some of it's really strange, like the wide mouths with the rows of teeth that they somehow develop. Yeah, lots of twister head Bart. And in the episode when we covered
last week when we covered this episode.
Yeah, because this is the
most recent one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We looked at the original animation versus the new animation.
We did, yeah. And a lot of the original animation was kept in, and I think that's why it made it so weird.
Yeah.
You're
not going to believe this, mate.
What?
Do you want to know what my number 12 ranking is?
What?
It's Some Enchanted Evening.
Really?
Yeah,
nice.
It's the same episode.
Awesome.
There we go. So we've come to an agreement on this episode being the second worst.
Yeah.
Out of this season, obviously.
Yeah, out of the season. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really holds the episode back is that there's no one joke that stands out in my mind. We're sitting talking about this episode right now, and there's, even when I was talking about One of The Simpsons, which I think is fundamentally a much worse episode.
Yeah.
There were about 3 or 4
really good moments.
Really good jokes
popped into my head.
Where it was like, there's the rabbit, there's the thing, there's that.
Yeah.
Whereas with this episode,
I'm really trying to rack my brains to remember what it's about.
I can remember the plot.
It's also the most recent we actually recorded.
I can't think of a single joke in the episode.
Yeah.
I think the babysitter's a good character, and I wish they'd brought her back for another episode.
Yeah. I wish it was drawn a bit more stereotypically Simpson, though.
It would be interesting to see her come back with modern Simpsons art style.
Yeah.
Would they update her, or would
actually
she
be able to... If they updated
really
her,
stand out?
Really not be able to recognise her.
The actress who portrayed her, I said her name in the last episode. Who also directed the movie Big.
Yeah.
Has since passed away.
Yes.
2 years ago, which is
a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's also a kind of a cognitive dissonance between the beginning of the story and the entire babysitter plot, which is what people remember about the episode.
Yeah.
It's the episode with the evil criminal babysitter.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a lot of relation to the A plot. I'd say that's probably the B plot, the babysitter bandit. Babysitter bandit, that's the phrase I've been looking for.
Babysitter bandit, that's it. Yes. And it is supposed to be the B plot, but it's what we remember more about the episode.
I think it's even the thumbnail. Unlike Disney Plus, it's the babysitter.
Mm-hmm. Or it was. When we're recording this.
Yes. Aye. Are you ready to move on to
number 11?
Yes.
Okay. That's just our studio
falling apart.
Studio falling apart.
And that's the ceiling coming in on my head.
Perfect.
What's your number 11 choice?
My number 11 is There's No Disgrace Like Home.
Interesting.
All right.
What were your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on it.
I'm trying not to say what did you dislike about this episode every time.
I thought the plot was like the overall arc and plot is relatable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just think that their families are going to embarrass them at like at company events and stuff like that.
Yes.
So that's definitely...
when you and I go to the annual podcasters convention.
Yeah, I mean...
and host our panel. We talk about our 400 podcasts. Now we're the most prolific podcast creators of all time.
Yeah.
But you can find out more about on our podcast. Too many pods, not enough cast.
That's definitely
we talk about the trials and tribulations of making more than 500 podcasts because we've just started 100 more.
Right this minute.
Between when this episode started and now.
Between when he said the last line and now.
Between when I said 400
that was paused and we've started 100 new fucking podcasts. And we've come back.
That's the one.
To record this.
But yeah, there's always that worry that your family's going to embarrass you.
Yeah.
In some way.
So it's definitely relatable, and I do like the Dr. Marvin Monroe scenes. I like the electrocution sort of shock therapy thing. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, there's just too many background characters that are just fucking weird.
Yeah, this is a bad episode for animation.
Really terrible. And the people they're not even background characters, they're kind of like tertiary on-screen characters.
The one that I remember freaking us out the most was the guy that works at the pawn shop.
Yeah.
All of his teeth are drawn separately from each other and he's got these massive drooping eyes. Really freaky character.
Yeah. So I just think that sort of detracts from the actual story and the actual episode, like really, really quite heavily in this.
Yeah, aye.
So that's one of the reasons why I ended up shoving it down the list.
Nice. My number 11 spot is Homer's Night Out, which was obviously your number 13.
Yes. So definitely a
low episode for both of us.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the episode, but my issues were obviously kind of the same issues that you had. I do think this episode, comparing it to the previous one we talked about, Some Enchanted Evening, does have a few standout jokes. Also, I really love that darkroom sequence.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame they didn't. They've never brought that back. The idea that Springfield Elementary had a darkroom, or had a darkroom,
or had one. Yeah.
I don't think in 2023 they would have a darkroom.
No.
Or maybe they couldn't afford digital cameras. I don't think they have a photography department at all.
No, I don't think they do.
Sometimes they have
I think that was supposed to be like a photography club. That was going on at that point, and Bart just sort of crashed the club so he could get the pictures. Maybe
they bring it back. There's a few episodes where they mention the school having a newspaper later on, and there's a photography thing there. So maybe it makes a comeback then.
Yeah,
but it's not in the same degrees as here.
No.
Yeah, I had the same issues that we've already talked about.
Perfect.
That's all I have to say about this episode.
It was,
I think our enjoyment of it might be hampered by the fact that it comes directly after another Homer and Marge marriage crisis episode.
Yes, yeah.
They're all kind of bundled together in this season.
I think,
I think they make up about 25% of the season. I'm sure I saw that number somewhere.
Yeah.
Where a quarter, or almost a quarter of the stories this season are Homer and Marge marriage crisis episodes.
Yeah, which is a bit.
What's your number 10 pick?
My number 10. So, my number 10 was The Crepes of Wrath.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, you're going, because you can see your list and I can't see yours.
I know where Crepes of Wrath is in mine. I'm also thinking about eating a crepe, and that has me going,
Yeah, I am. I'm kind of hungry myself.
I haven't eaten today.
Me neither. Perfect. They do not know the time. It's like 7 o'clock almost. So that's PM, by the way, not AM.
Let's crack on. Yeah, so Crepes of Wrath. I thought that was quite a good episode. What did you not like about it?
I liked it. It was all round. It was a pretty decent episode, but I just found that there were other episodes I preferred. That's kind of how it launched its way down to like 10th spot.
It's I understand that.
I didn't think that there's really not much in the way of sympathy for Bart. And it's not the fact that much sympathy for I don't have much sympathy for Bart, but I also don't think there's much sympathy for Bart by the way that it was written / structured in the episode.
That's interesting.
I just felt like it was one of those, we haven't covered them, but there are better sympathy episodes later. They're done way better. Like there's, is it Camp Krusty?
Yeah, that's in like season 5 or something.
Yeah, that's a way, way better done. I know this is season 1, but things like episodes like that stuck in my head. That's way better than things like this.
Yeah.
So I just... Yeah, there wasn't really anything that really stood out as a great part of the episode for me. And there wasn't really anything that kind of stood out as horrible either.
You felt it was a kind of a mid-episode. So the kids are saying these days, they're saying mid. It didn't rizz you up?
Yeah, that's something. It didn't rizz me up.
No, I have similar episodes that are ranked lower because I think One of The Simpsons, which I had in 13th place, is a good example of that. Where I'm like, I've seen The Simpsons do this better.
Right.
The one where they go to Africa.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah, way better outdoor sort of bugger off to the outdoors sort of thing.
Yeah, much better. What's the word I'm looking for here? Much better.
Execution.
That's the word, yeah. Much better execution of the same plot line, basically, the same concept.
Yeah.
Was that number 10?
That was number 10.
My number 10 is There's No Disgrace Like Home. I think my main issue with the episode is how out of character everyone is written. Homer is written like a completely different person.
Yeah.
Marge is getting drunk at the thing, at the Mr. Burns' party or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Lisa's also kind of misbehaving.
Yeah.
I think this episode is again dampened by our knowledge of future seasons and who these characters would become when they're more well established.
Yeah, hindsight is 2020 with what we know about these characters now, so it kind of goes against the episode.
Yeah.
Even then, it'd still be probably pretty low in the list, to be fair.
Yeah. I'm also not a huge fan of Dr. Marvin Monroe as a character. I find him, his voice is grating.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I like the electrocution segment just fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine. I know a lot of people say this is their favourite episode of season 1 because of that segment, and I'm like, not that funny.
It's not that great.
It's good, but it's funny, but it's not. Yeah, no.
No, well, yes, of course, this is just our opinion.
They can like what they want.
Yeah.
And keep it away from me, that's what I say. You can live your life however you want as long as it doesn't get in my line of sight.
Yeah, that's something.
What's your number 9 slot? That was slot, by the way. I wasn't calling David a slut. What's your number 9 slot?
Oh, number 9 slot. I thought you meant like what was like if I had multiple slots and I had to.
Oh right.
I had to rank out which ones.
If you had to rank them all,
the number 9 slot of that.
Oh, what's your number 9?
Yeah, my number 9 is Simpsons roasting over an open fire. You were reacting to that like you just found out which one was your number 9 slot.
That's interesting. Season 1, episode 1, Christmas special. Technically the pilot where Homer doesn't get his Christmas bonus and Bart gets a tattoo. I've described this episode so many fucking times.
Yeah.
Bart gets a tattoo and it has to be lasered off, so they lose all the Christmas fun, and Homer doesn't get a bonus, so he has to get a job working as a mall Santa to make ends meet, try and provide for Christmas, and then that pays him low, and then they go to the dog track and they get Santa's little helper, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. And what little money he did make on Santa's Little Helper.
Yeah, it's the movie Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah. So one of the pros was I remember quite a lot prior to rewatching the first season.
Yeah.
But I remembered like some of them were not quite as bad as the other ones. I remember them like some of them as if they weren't season 1 episodes.
Yeah, we talked about this.
This isn't one like that. It's kind of the opposite.
It has the look and the feel.
But I actually quite like it because of that. Because of the fact that it was technically the first episode. Not many people could get away with a Christmas special being as their first episode.
Which we also talked about in
which we
episode
obviously
1.
Talked about. I like it though because it's like a classic Christmas special that I've remembered like all these years. It's
yeah. I think speaking of episodes that have been usurped by future episodes though, there have been better Simpsons Christmas episodes.
Definitely, hands down.
One of my top 5 episodes of all time is a Christmas Simpsons episode, and it ain't this one.
No.
It's Marge Be Not Proud, which is the one where Bart steals Bone Storm.
Okay, yeah. That's
one of my favourite episodes of all time. And I can't wait for us to cover it here on Insert Brain Here, a Simpsons podcast.
Yeah.
What was that, number 9?
Yeah.
My number...
I never actually said why I didn't like it though.
Oh, sorry, carry on. I'll wait.
Yeah, you will. Fucking hell. Only season 1 recap, and we're already at each other's throats.
We can't beat each other's throats until we're successful, and then we don't have to speak
or
to
you. 69 in.
What? Sorry, come again?
Or at each other's throats.
Oh, Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
We can't beat each other's throats. I was going to say until the podcast is really successful. And then we can not speak to each other unless we're recording. And we can record in different rooms. Yeah.
Completely different locations while recording. Yeah.
Like the Beach Boys, you know?
Yeah.
where Mike Love and Brian Wilson hate each other.
Aye, exactly.
Or Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah. We really are the Simon and Garfunkel of podcasts. But you were saying what you didn't like about the episode. Running long this one. We're at 40 minutes.
Perfect. It should be a long episode. We're talking about all 13 episodes, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why not?
Sit and listen.
Yeah, exactly. If you're enjoying this so far, then...
tell your friends. Share it on your Instagram story.
Put it on Threads.
Threads? I heard about this.
That's still relevant.
Not when this episode goes out.
No, it won't be. It'll be fucking gone again.
Remember the Titanic submarine?
Yeah.
Let's date this episode as much as we can.
Anyway.
What do you dislike about Simpsons roasting on an open fire?
So what I liked about it is also what I disliked about it. It is dated. There are better Christmas episodes out there.
Yes.
And that's, again, looking at hindsight, but it's also an odd way to start a season, which we've already discussed about why they started the season that way. However, it's still odd, and it leads into like some serious continuity issues, like getting Santa's little helper, for example.
Yeah, who barely appears in the rest of this season.
Yeah. So you're number 9, finally.
Yes, my number 9 spot is Homer's Odyssey.
Ah, well, that's interesting. Yeah.
This is the ugliest episode I've ever seen.
Yes.
Of a 2D animated show.
It is.
This looks worse than the what's that? Who's the guy who animated the Lord of the Rings movies that everyone dislikes?
Oh.
Howard Baskin? Baskin Robbins? Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
That's it. Barnes and Noble's The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings movies.
Marks and Spencer's, why not?
Yeah, Marks and Spencer's.
Yeah.
You know the ones that I mean. The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings movies that were animated in the 70s and 80s, I want to say.
Yeah.
Late 70s, early 80s, before Peter Jackson did his live action trilogy. Yeah. Not great animation. I think it was rotoscoped.
I think it was.
This is the ugliest 2D animation I've ever seen. It is shockingly bad.
It is.
To the point where it actively detracts from the episode.
It really does.
I don't think there's another episode where the animation is that bad.
I don't think so, no. No, I don't think so.
And also the plot's a little bit paper thin.
Is pretty shit.
I like the ending that this is the episode where Homer gets his safety inspector job at the nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
Even though that has since been retconned.
Right, okay.
I think in future episodes he just gets that job outright.
Right.
He's not he's not a technician or something, whatever he is at the start of the episode.
Yeah.
I like the thing with the boulder at the bridge, the suicide bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's pretty
Black Smithers as well. How could I possibly forget this is the Black Smithers episode? Maybe this should have been in bottom spot.
It's definitely, now that we're talking about it, I feel like it should have been a lower ranking than it
Well,
than it
we're
is.
locked in.
We're here now.
And you haven't talked about it yet, have you?
No, I have
not.
not.
Oh, man, is it your number 1?
No, it's not.
That would be phenomenal.
Shitting on it, and I'm going, no, it should definitely have been lower.
That it should.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what's your number 8?
8. Homer's Odyssey.
Oh my. we're ships passing in the night.
We really are.
We're cocks passing at the cockfight.
That's something.
What did you dislike about Homer's Odyssey that we haven't already dunked on it for?
Basically the exact same shit. It didn't really feel like... It felt...
Yeah.
For a Homer-centric episode, it felt...
Yeah.
What I did like about it was the scene when he's going to the bridge, the carrying the boulder, the fact that he stops to oil the gate.
When he writes his suicide note on the dumb things I got to do today.
I think there's a couple of good points to the episode.
Yeah.
But I like the news articles for the signs later on, the safety signage. Yes. I like the way they did that. But
which reminds me, when we covered Moaning Lisa,
Yeah.
And they go back to the suicide bridge.
Yeah.
And we said in that episode, the stop sign that Homer gets erected, you actually don't see it in the episode.
Yep.
And we were wrong. Because when I rewatched this episode, when they showed the newspaper headline, you see Homer standing with the stop sign at Suicide Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Fair enough. Well, there we go.
There we go.
Very good.
Aye.
What about your number 8? I guess we've basically already covered Homer's Odyssey.
Bart the Genius.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We're at the point now we're getting in the middle of the list. I didn't think Bart the Genius was necessarily a bad episode.
No.
I like a lot of the stuff with his relationship with Homer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting to see Bart put in a situation where he's the one that's
like the favourite, I guess, of the kids.
No, where he's at the school and he's being picked on.
Oh, right, that. Yeah.
Because usually Bart's the cool kid, he's the bad boy.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he gets bullied by like the bigger kids like Nelson and Jimbo.
Yeah.
In his grade, he's the hot shit about town.
Yeah, basically, aye.
But once he goes to the smart class, he's getting bullied.
Yeah,
it's an interesting
because he's intellectually the
dumbest by far.
By a long way, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting story to do with Bart, and I'm surprised that they did it in season 1.
Yeah, same here.
That thing where he gets dyed green is stupid.
Yes.
Yep. That's dumb.
Yep.
No, we mentioned in the episode that it would have made salt.
Yeah.
We've talked about all of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a fine episode.
But again, we're in the middle
of the list.
Mm-hmm. So there's a few that are just going to be splattered in here because they're not great, but they're not shit.
Yeah, I think if they'd done this episode later on, they would have had something with Lisa.
Yeah.
Lisa should be in the class that Bart gets put into.
They also don't they don't ever actually like reoffer that position
to Lisa.
To Lisa or to
Martin.
To Martin.
Yeah. He mentioned this.
It was his fucking paper that he copied, and he's apparently the smartest. Like
he would have been the
Bart's
smartest
would
kid
have been the
in
smartest
the genius
kid in the genius school.
Aye.
And Martin's just left.
Stuck in Mrs. Krabappel's class with Bart for 35 years.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think there needs to be a sequel episode to this.
Where
Martin finds out about that.
Oh, I think that might be the last episode because Bart's dead.
Maybe Bart dies in a different episode that we haven't covered yet. Bart dies at one point in the show that we haven't covered yet in a much later season. Season 30 something.
All right. Well, I probably haven't watched it yet.
Never get to it.
Yeah, we'll get there. We will one day, maybe. Probably. Anyway,
what's your number 7 spot? We're flying through this list.
We are.
We've just got over halfway.
Not to the people listening, probably.
No, it's a true slog of an episode.
Oh, perfect.
What's your number 7 spot?
Bart the Genius.
Really? The episode we just talked about?
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on Bart the Genius.
So, I really like the fantasy sequence, which is why I kept it there as opposed to lower.
Oh, the train sequence.
No, yeah, the train sequence with all the numbers. I like that.
I noticed that there were more numbers than we originally picked up on as well when I rewatched it. The cactuses are numbers in the background.
It's quite good. It's similar to most of the fantasy sequences, to be fair, in this season.
Yeah.
They are definitely much better animated than everything else in this season.
Yeah.
But what kept it down here as opposed to further up the list, because it's a pretty good episode. There's nothing terrible about it, but nothing great about it. But what kept it here in number 7 for me is the fact that there's a lot of front-facing shots. In this, and I just didn't like it.
There's a lot of front-facing Simpsons in the entire first season.
Yeah. But this had a lot of front-facing shots in it, and I just didn't like that. I really didn't like it.
Didn't shy away from it.
No, they really did not. But otherwise, I thought it was just a pretty decent episode all around. Quite liked it, but just wasn't one of my favorites. So
yeah.
That's why it's here.
That's fair enough.
What about you?
My
7?
number 7 spot is Simpsons roasting on an open fire.
Ah, right. Well, yours definitely got a bit higher than mine.
It did indeed.
Although, to be fair, with my tier system, they're all three of those: Homer's Odyssey, Bart the Genius, and Simpsons roasting on an open fire are all in the 987 slots.
On the same slot?
Yeah.
Hey, there we go.
It's still in the same area.
Yeah, the same ballpark.
Yeah.
I love this episode. I think it's a lovely, cozy, schmaltzy, outdated animation type of episode. It reminds me kind of of Peanuts, like Charlie Brown's Big Fat Christmas or whatever the fuck that's called. What's it called? Charlie Brown goes to Hawaii. Charlie Brown's Adventures Down Under. What's the Charlie Brown Christmas special called? You know the one I mean, right?
I barely know the names of the Simpsons episodes.
You know what I mean, though. The Peanuts.
You know what we can do? We can just refer to our Charlie Brown podcast, which is called what?
Charles M. Schmaltz Nullabout. That's what it's called. Because his name is Charles M. Schultz, I want to say.
Yeah.
Schmaltz is like a... You get it.
Yeah, I get the reference.
I'm just making sure everyone gets the joke.
I know. It's fine.
I don't know enough about Peanuts to do a Peanuts podcast. But when we do our Peanuts podcast, we'll learn.
We'll figure it out. We'll know what it's called.
What was I talking about?
You were talking about
Simpsons roasting on an open fire.
Yeah.
It's like The Snowman is another good example of this.
Yeah.
The Snowman is a British animated short film.
Yeah.
About a snowman who comes to life.
Yeah.
It's shown on TV every Christmas.
Yeah.
Has been for years. And I love old-fashioned animation like that, especially at Christmas. It feels very warm and familiar.
Yeah. I reckon they definitely did something right with this episode with the old... They weren't obviously trying to make it old animation.
Yeah.
But obviously this episode's older animation seasoned well. Whereas some of the other episodes, like Homer's Odyssey, not seasoned at all. That shit was off when they put it out. It was fucking dire. But roasting over an open fire, that one definitely aged well.
Like a fine wine.
Yeah. So similarly, we've already said that there are better Christmas episodes.
Yeah, we already talked about that.
But it's still a good one.
What's your number?
6. What is with that fucking 6?
So, what's your number 6? We're almost at the top 5, which is the big dogs. What's your honourable mention for the top 5? And by that I mean number 6.
My number 6, it was... Now this is where things got really tough for me.
Yeah.
The top 5 is always a really difficult decision for me, at least. So... Even now, I've got it written down. It's physically on paper. There are numbers now next to everything. And even now, I'm still questioning it. But whatever. We're here now. It's fucking written. The Telltale Head, number 6.
Oh, really?
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 Yes.
You know what my number 6 is?
What?
The Telltale Head.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I was like, with that reaction, it's either his number 6 or his number 1.
No, not quite. I think... Go ahead.
So, I love the way the story was told.
The flashback thing?
Yeah, I like the flashback whole thing. I don't think there are many other shows that certainly no animation shows that had really done much like that. It's quite a common thing now.
Yeah, not that I can recall.
No, not that I can recall that was at least of any decent note at that point.
Probably some anime that we haven't heard of.
More than likely there's some shit we haven't heard of that some people...
What's that anime? Evanescence? What's the one with the guy in the big neck suit and the redhead girl? Evanescence?
Probably. I don't remember.
Evangelion.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that was before this, but I couldn't say for certain.
Probably was. It looks like it's before this, to be fair.
Ooh.
It's not dreadful.
Throwing rocks at
it's not a dreadful animation or anything.
Evangelion.
Yeah. But it definitely looks... It's dated animation style, which has its perks.
You can find out more about that on our Evangelion podcast, which is called...
We obviously just shit on it.
What's it called, David?
Evanescence.
No, our Evangelion podcast.
I know.
All right.
I'm just making shit up based on what you're
What's
talking
that
about.
Evanescence song that everyone likes?
Bring Me to Life.
Bring Me to the Big Mech Suit, which is our Evanescence Evangelion crossover podcast. We talk about Evanescence and Evangelion.
We talk about Evangelion while we're yelling over the soundtrack that we're
to the
playing.
movie Daredevil in 2003.
Yeah.
And our special guest every episode is an evangelical preacher who does not know what he's in for.
It's just fucking preaching shit in the background.
It's Evanescence.
Even more noise that we have to yell over about the facts of this fucking episode.
Evanescence Evangelical Evangelism is the name of the podcast.
There we go. Perfect. I love it.
What were you saying?
Something about the Telltale Head. I was saying about...
Tell me more about the Telltale Head.
I love the Homer Church scene.
You were saying you like the story structure of the flashback.
I like that structure. I like the fact that, it's probably one of the first of its kind.
Yeah.
It's a very common way of telling stories now, in animation especially, and there's lots of Family Guy, lots of ways of this.
I'm sure Rick and Morty's done it a few times.
Loads.
Couldn't tell you.
But, I don't fucking know. It's one of the ones we haven't done a podcast on yet.
I never will.
Probably not. When we run out of everything else.
We cover every episode of...
Everything.
Everything
on this planet. That includes how many mites are on David Attenborough's balls.
I was going to say they're bringing back Futurama.
Yeah, that's one.
There's new Futurama coming out, so we can do a Futurama podcast at some point. When we run out of... There's 34 seasons of The Simpsons out right now, and we just finished season 1. And it took us 7 years to get to this point.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
So,
what do you like about the Telltale Head?
The Homer Church scene where he's got the football going on in his ear. Football, baseball?
Right, yeah, he's watching the sports.
Listening to, because it's the cassette player that...
Doesn't it have a little screen in it, like a tiny little screen?
I feel like I'm remembering that from something else.
That might be from an episode of Seinfeld.
Probably is. Yeah, but yeah, I feel, because I think it's Bart's cassette player that's taken off of him that has the radio setting on it.
Yeah, maybe.
And I feel like that's what he pockets and listening to. I just love the fact that they synced up the words. I know we've already discussed that was an afterthought kind of thing, but I love the fact that it's synced up to the preacher. That's awesome. The talking head. The head of Jebediah Springfield. Yes, once he's cut it off, and I can graze the mic with my hand there.
Nice.
Perfect. So the talking head was great. I liked the sort of the way they played out the guilt.
Yes.
With that. I didn't like, as we have discussed, when we were talking about this episode, a lot of the crowd characters were weird. Really?
They're not anywhere near as bad as Homer's Odyssey. They are established Simpsons characters, but they're just drawn very strange.
Yeah, they're all like off character.
Yeah.
They're either visually or otherwise off character.
Barney's weird half face.
Yeah. There's a lot of odd stuff. But then again, that's pretty much the entire fucking season, to be fair.
Yeah.
What about yourself? What?
Yeah, I think this might be the most iconic episode of season 1.
Yeah.
I remember playing Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yeah.
And being able to jump up Jebediah Springfield's statue as Bart and kick the head and it falls off.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think that kind of lodged in my brain as the episode happened.
Yeah.
I love the first half of the episode, which has a kind of a more casual, laid-back approach, where Bart is just hanging out with Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney. Yeah. They sneak into a movie, they get kicked out, they go cloud gazing.
Yeah.
They got the Quickie Mart. It kind of feels like a Richard Linklater movie.
Yeah.
You know, like Slackers or Dazed and Confused or Before Sunrise or Sunset.
Yeah.
Those types of movies where a bit more laid back, a bit more of a dilly-dally approach, which I appreciate. And I wish there was more of that in future episodes. And I wish this episode had more of that.
Yeah. I think it should have sort of
I get you have to have a plot.
Yeah,
you have to have
a plot, but it's still, it would have been nicer.
Yeah.
More of a pleasant episode. Maybe a bit forgettable.
I would love to hang about in Springfield.
Yeah, just chill.
Chill with look at some clouds.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be good.
Lovely time.
Aye.
Not a care in the world.
Yeah.
This is a relaxing episode until it isn't.
Exactly. Until there's a mob.
Aye.
Yeah.
Let's go into the top 5.
Top 5.
Like a ball bearing being shot out of a gun. Rocketing straight forward into the top 5. What's your number 5 spot?
My number 5 spot is Krusty Gets Busted.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's also in my top 5, obviously, because I haven't mentioned it.
Yeah, you haven't mentioned it yet. So it's obviously there.
What were your thoughts? What made you choose Krusty Got Busted for the 5 spot?
I don't know.
Good. My number 5 was...
no, I mean... fucking move straight on. No, I don't know what put it down to the top 5. I just liked aspects, I think, of other ones that put the other ones higher.
Yes.
I just really intensely liked aspects about them that put them higher up in the tier listing, which is the only reason. It was always going to be top 5 because I really like Krusty Gets Busted.
It is a really good episode.
So it was always going to be top 5, but I think that's just how it ended up on the number 5 spot. Because it's got really good animation overall. It's pretty clean animation all round. I don't think there was really any problems that we spotted in that one.
No, I don't recall spotting anything.
The mystery plot is just really great, and the way that it's all discovered, and also the continuity of that episode is better than any of the other episodes, basically, because it actually has continuity. All of the clues they're looking for, they're not just popping them in afterwards. They're already there. You can see them from the start. They're nicely and subtly put so that you don't really spot them, most of them, before you actually get to the point where the characters spot them. So it's naturally progressed properly. And Sideshow Bob, he's awesome. Yeah. It's not really much more I can say about that. It's awesome. So it's a really good episode. But yeah, that's just where it is on my list.
Nice.
So, what about you? What's your number 5?
My number 5 is The Crepes of Wrath.
All right.
Which was right down at the bottom of your...
Yeah, where was mine? 10. Halfway down.
It's the number 5 spot for me. I had a lot of empathy for Bart in this episode. I know you said you didn't give a fuck about what happened to him.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I really empathised with the situation, being a little child slave in France. And I loved the B plot of Abdil Hoxha.
Right, yeah.
Spy kid's child.
Yeah.
Infiltrating America via Homer and trying to get information about their nuclear power plants.
I did enjoy Homer's completing our...
even after he gets caught.
Yeah, even after he gets caught.
I'll keep sending you that stuff.
To him.
The idea that there is in the world of The Simpsons child spies, because there's an American one that gets sent back.
Yeah.
In exchange for Adil Hoxha is hilarious and fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised when Spy Kids, the movie, came out in 2002, that they didn't try and do something with that.
Right, yeah.
They didn't bring this back and have Bart and Lisa become Spy Kids.
Right.
I think nowadays, if Spy Kids came out now, modern Simpsons would take that opportunity.
Oh, they jump on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a really charming episode. One half of it's very charming and very lighthearted and fun. And the other half is very depressing. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like a Simpsons episode that has a bit of a misery to it. The characters are really in dire situations where you really feel for them because it wasn't something that was done in animation in 1990, especially not to a child character.
Right, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I love Ugolin and Caesar. Horrible French bastards.
Yeah. With horrible French accents.
Yeah, as we learned. Yeah, it's always stuck in my mind as a good episode.
Right.
And now that I'm talking about it, I actually kind of wish that I had ranked it higher.
Fair enough. I kind of wish I'd ranked it higher than 10. But
yeah,
still,
you shat all over this one. Huh?
I did shit all over this one. Well,
and I love the opening prank is really good as well. Agnes kind of getting shot up in the air.
Mythbusters did that prank.
Did they?
Yeah, they tried to recreate that prank and they blew the toilets apart instead.
Did the guy with the walrus mustache get sent to France
I don't know.
to work as a slave?
I didn't see all of that. But what I did see is, I didn't watch the entire episode. It was just in passing. But I did see that they did that prank and the toilets blew up. Which is also sort of busts the mystery of the fact that those fuses do stay lit. Stay alight or lit, whatever. Underwater, submerged underwater.
Really?
So yeah, that cherry bomb would have been able to actually blow up underwater.
Huh.
It just would have exploded the toilet instead of flushed and launched the water.
Launched Agnes.
Yeah, through the ceiling basically.
What's your number 4 spot?
So my number 4 spot, again, this was kind of torn between one and the other, but mostly because of one character is why I chose this as the 4th spot, and that is Life in the Fast Lane.
My number 4 spot is also Life in the Fast Lane.
Really?
Yeah.
Right, fair enough.
The second you said one particular character, I was like, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's also here for me because of that particular character.
Yeah, Jacques.
Jacques.
Everything
matters because he's not actually French.
That prick.
4 onion rings or 5 onion rings or whatever it was.
Yeah. There's some really, there's why it's top 5s. There's some really good gags. I really do like the fantasy scene was absolutely beautiful. In this. Yes, the bowling fantasy scene, that was really, really well done because it's black and white except it's got pops of pink.
Yeah, it's pink and blue.
Yeah, pink and blue. That's it.
It's maybe the best animation of the entire season.
It is. Hands down, very well done. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
And it's got some really good funny moments, some really good gags in it.
Yeah.
Jacques just the worst. He's fucking dick.
I hate that guy.
I'd shank him
it's his only
could.
episode. It's one of his only appearances as well.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I think he's in the opening credits from season 2 onwards.
All right.
Which obviously we haven't started to cover yet.
We haven't done that yet. All right, well. So, anything else you would like to shit on about it or rave about?
I think it's got the most detail of one of the, well, maybe not the most detail, but one of the most detailed in terms of animation. The way that they sneak little bowling references into the backgrounds, the fact that the moon is a bowling ball.
Yeah.
At one point, unlike with the episode we talked about before, Homer's Night Out. I fully agree with Marge being furious at Homer here.
Definitely. This one actually makes sense.
A bowling ball with his name on it.
Yeah.
For her birthday, even though she doesn't bowl it, and then drops it into her cake.
Yeah.
In front of her face.
Yeah.
That's divorceable.
Yeah.
That's divorceable.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to really say about this episode.
It's a pretty good episode.
Yeah. Oh, we're into the top 3.
We are.
What's your number 3 pick?
This was, as always, difficult.
Yes.
Morning Lisa.
My number 3 pick is also Morning Lisa.
We're getting there.
Oh, they're starting to become the same list.
Almost.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet, though.
No.
So, yeah, Morning Lisa, Pudding Gums Murphy, awesome character.
Yeah.
Absolutely love the jazz in this. Despite the fact that I still like it because of that. The plot with Lisa is just a whole bunch of white kid problems. Really is.
Lisa really does embody
white girl
that
problems. It's great.
Not even white savior, because she's not saving him from anything. No. Just injecting herself into his culture and his life.
Yeah.
When rewatching the episode yesterday, I did notice that Pudding Gums does mention to Lisa on the bridge that her problems aren't real problems.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
which we didn't pick up on when we first watched the episode.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this episode.
It's such a good episode. You know, we talked, I think, possibly at that point or another point, at some point when we were covering one of the episodes, I believe we talked about the Simpsons released the album.
we mentioned that in almost every episode. Simpsons Sing the Blues.
Yes. But every single time I think about Morning Lisa episode, I think it really should have been a jazz album.
Yeah.
Or it really ought to have a jazz album because it was just...
It's not too late.
It's not.
Do a Simpsons Lisa jazz album.
Please.
You can't have Pudding Gums Murphy on it because he's dead.
Yeah.
But there might be a future episode which introduces his ghost or son or something.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
Nope.
I think there is. You could definitely still do a Simpsons jazz album and
easily.
I would buy it. We would review it here.
Yeah,
we would talk about it. Just like we are eventually going to talk about Simpsons Sing the Blues at some point.
Yes, we are. whenever it is canonically in the series. I think it's
that may be
season 2?
During season 2. It may be
okay.
a Patreon only episode.
Maybe.
I think I might do that. Give me some fucking money.
Yeah, we're gonna need something.
Line my wallet, please.
Yeah, please.
Streaming that album through Spotify ain't cheap.
No, it is not. So yeah, what about yourself? Why is it in number 3?
I fully agree. I love jazz.
Yes.
I like Woody Ingram's Murphy. I think he's a great character. I like the way that it approaches the character of Lisa. This is the first episode where she feels like a real character.
Yeah.
They're really giving her that spotlight and making her more complicated than
just
how Homer and Bart and Marge have been presented up until this point.
Yeah.
Especially the way that Marge overcomes the way that her mother, Jacqueline Bouvier, parented her in order to be a better mother for Lisa.
Yeah.
And to fix those generational issues.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Yeah, it was good. A really good episode. It's just, there's nothing really to complain about it, as far as I can remember.
I have no complaints about this episode, besides the one that we already mentioned about Lisa and her white girl problems.
But I still like the fact that, that's what she was complaining about, because she doesn't, like, they're poor, but they're not that poor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they get by.
They still get by. They still eat on a regular basis. It's not like they're starving.
Oh, look at Homer, mate. They eat on a more than regular basis.
They've got enough money to do whatever they manage to go on vacation. Kind of.
They get that camper van. It's a piece of shit.
That's an absolute piece of shit. But he pays to the nose for it. Like, if he actually had any brains, he'd be able to probably go to vacation in Spain or something instead.
Yeah.
Even then, it's not like they don't have that many problems. And so I kind of like the fact that they don't try and pretend that there's like some really big problem that Lisa has.
Yeah.
She's just generally depressed just because.
I think that's depicted really well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a really, really good episode. And so that's why it's both of our number 3.
What's your number 2 though?
My number 2. Now this is where the list really diverge. Because you've already given this one.
The Call of the Simpsons?
Yeah.
My God, that was my number 13.
I know.
That was my... What did you like about this episode? Try and get it across to me.
What really, really shined this episode was the 3 separate stages that were completely and utterly unrelated, really.
Yeah.
There was like one tiny little thread hanging them together.
They're tangentially related.
Exactly.
But not only are they different in their story, but they're also different in terms of tone. And humour.
And humour. Everything. It's really disjointed. But that aside, and in the ending, I didn't like the Sasquatch ending. Right. So those 2 things aside, I really, really liked the characters, the gags. I just really enjoyed Big Bob. He was awesome. I love his sales pitch. I love it so much. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And it is exactly what you would get if you rocked up to that kind of place, that kind of establishment. I think
I've rocked up to that kind of place with you before when you've been looking to buy a car.
I have definitely bought cars from idiots like that. I've been the idiot. I've been Homer buying absolute piles of crap from people like that, and it's spot on. The animation was pretty okay. There was no real massive problems.
I think it's very clearly a season 1 episode, but it's not as bad as some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's definitely not got the problems that a lot of the other ones have. The bears and Maggie are just adorable. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
You've talked to Lisa and Marge just getting along fine while the entire time going, I'm sure the boys are much better at this, and they're absolutely suffering in a bush,
Not catching anything, not doing anything, totally failing.
And the trap joke is still one of the, I don't think it's the top, but I think it's definitely one of the top 3 gags of the season.
Yeah.
Definitely. So that's why I ended up so high, is because the high points sort of glazed over the terrible story making.
Yeah.
For me, so I just sort of ran with the gags on that one, which is why I ended up so high on my list. It's just because of the good points kept jumping out at me when I was doing the ranking. So yeah, that's why it's number 2.
Nice.
What about yourself?
My number 2 is Krusty Gets Busted.
Really? All right.
Which
well,
I
that's
think
my
means
5. Yeah.
I think means that we both have the same number 1 as well, which is interesting.
I think it does.
Nice. How can you not love Kelsey Grammer as Sideshow Bob?
Yeah,
I think this episode also features some of the best animation.
Possibly.
I love Sideshow Bob's over-animated meltdown at the end of the episode when he's getting arrested.
Yeah.
I think this has Krusty's heart attack as well.
Yes, it does. It's got some very, very clean animation. It definitely is one of the ones as well that doesn't really feel much like a season 1 episode either.
Yeah, the idea that a character like Sideshow Bob, voiced by Kelsey Grammer, was introduced in the first season.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think has appeared in every season since, in some form or another.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe so. As everything that you mentioned as well, the foreshadowing with the microwave and the size of the feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love Sideshow Bob's children's show that should never exist, where he's like reading Moby Dick and he's in a smoking jacket and like the kind of show that you...
And they all enjoyed it.
Yeah, they love it.
The fact that the kids are actually into this show that
and then Krusty comes back and they just go back to loving Krusty's show.
Yeah, which is probably closer to what a kid show would actually be successful as.
Yeah.
That is just the leather in this chair, pointing that out in case it's audible.
I'll edit it out.
Good.
I'll replace it with a big fart sound.
That's fine by me.
Big comical sound effect of a fart.
Perfect.
There we go. Yeah, I love Krusty's... I almost called it Krusty's Night Out. I love Krusty Gets Busted.
Yeah.
It's usurped. I would actually say this might be my number 1 spot. Krusty Gets Busted. I ranked it number 2, but it could easily be number 1.
Yeah, well,
these two are really interchangeable for me.
Right. I had a hard set on number 1 and number 2 in this. This is not a difficult decision between this one and that one, which I think you would be able to agree with, considering my number 2 is your number 13.
Yes.
So definitely, obviously, the number 1 should be number 1, and this one should definitely, for me at least, be number 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was no real issue with that one.
Yeah. Will we say our number 1 spot at the same time?
Sure, go for it.
Bart the General. There we go. The best episode of season 1.
Yes.
What a phenomenal bit of television.
It's brilliant.
Bart's dream sequence.
Yeah, the dream sequence is just... That's definitely... when we were talking about Life in the Fast Lane,
yes,
and we were talking about the fantasy sequence was really, really beautiful there.
Yeah.
I thought, wait a minute, I'm sure there was definitely one that I remembered that was better than this, and I couldn't remember what it was until we came on to... When I was looking at the Bart the General, I was like, that's what it is. That's this fantasy sequence that I prefer. It's not as clean. I think it's not as cleanly animated, but it is.
Nelson is definitely drawn
better
off model, but I think this is a really good introduction to his character.
Yes,
I like the camera angle, not camera angle, but you know what I mean, the shot where Bart gets thrown into the trash can.
Yeah,
and it's like a shot from underneath Bart, past Bart, where you can see him and you can see Nelson as Billy's.
Yeah, there's also the sort of like POV. Getting beaten up. Yeah,
when Bart gets beat up and you see it from Nelson's point of view.
Yeah.
Lots of really interesting choices in terms of the visuals with this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of face elasticity sort of thing going on.
Yeah, it has that kind of rubbery feeling that season 1 has.
Which works well in some places and doesn't work very well in other places, I think. But definitely where he's getting beaten up, that works quite nicely.
Yeah, that's really good.
The war parody. The war movie parody thing that's going on.
Yeah, the parody pattern.
And the glassy shot with the reflection of the soldiers.
Full Metal Jacket, that's wonderful.
Beautiful, that is awesome. Very well done.
I love Herman as a character. It's a shame that he's kind of been brushed to the side.
Yeah.
Herman is just such a creepy weirdo.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's really good. I like it.
I don't think that the animation on the dream sequence is quite as beautiful.
No.
As Life in Fast Lane.
It's very... So it's supposed to be for the dream sequence. It's supposed to be a nightmare scene for him. So it's very psychedelically sort of...
It's funnier. It reminds me almost of a Warner Brothers cartoon or a Hanna-Barbera kind of...
Yeah.
The way that he's just pulling out like guns and throwing knives
and stuff. Yeah. It's good. And it's all just either stabbing into him and he's just not bothered.
Walking straight ahead. Unperturbed.
Yeah. No, it's good. There we go.
That's it.
surprisingly large number of similarities, although we do had a couple of like
some
really
very
polar opposites.
big differences. That Call of the Simpsons one is one for the history books.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, all the good points of that just sort of glazed over the terrible for me when I was watching it.
It's fair.
But yeah.
Just imagine when we do season 2, we've got like 22 episodes to talk about in rank.
Christ. Good luck listening to that episode.
Yeah,
bloody long one.
Oh, that it will. Let's do 3 Blind Mice trivia on all season 1. Are you hyped? Are you ready? Are you excited?
My ass is numb. I am so excited.
Fantastic. Perfect for 3 Blind Mice trivia. This season, unlike all future seasons of the show, had no supervising director.
Oh, well, that may explain a lot. I can see why all the other future ones had a supervisor.
All the episode layouts were done in-house and then shipped off to Korea to be animated. 6 months later, the results were seen for the episode An Eventful Evening.
Yes.
An Enchanted Evening, sorry.
Aye, that's it.
70% of it had to be reanimated entirely. The other 30% had their backgrounds redrawn. The characters were considered rubbery and ugly, and extra jokes had been added that the writers hadn't approved of by the animators.
Right.
The crew who were present for the episode screening sat in the dark in silence for a few minutes after the episode had screened before slowly filtering out to leave just Jim Brooks, Matt Groening, and a couple others. Jim said, "This is shit." One of the animators responded, "What do you mean?" To which Jim said, "A foul substance causing disease." The animation company who did this season, Class B Supo, would later go on to create such shows as the Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys for Nickelodeon.
I can kind of see that now that you said it.
Not only did they animate those shows, they created them. Unlike with The Simpsons, where they were just animators.
It was their whole thing then.
Yeah. I think they'll leave The Simpsons in around... I think season 4 is when they get a new animation team.
Right.
And my last point of trivia for the season.
Okay.
You buckled up?
I am
this is the big
strapped down to the bed. I mean, what?
It was originally planned that in the show's final episode, Marge would reveal that her tall blue hair was hiding a large pair of rabbit ears because she was part rabbit.
What?
It was originally planned that in the final episode, Marge would reveal that her tall blue hair was hiding a pair of rabbit ears because she was part rabbit.
What? Why did that either get put in or cut? One of the two. I don't know which. I prefer the idea of getting cut or put in the first place. The fuck?
And when we play the Simpsons arcade game, you'll notice that when Marge gets electrocuted and you see her skeleton, her skeleton has rabbit ears.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that.
What a bizarre choice.
It's weird.
Imagine if they'd gone through with that. We'd have to know now that Marge has rabbit ears in her hair.
That's weird.
I'm surprised they haven't revisited it for like a Trios of Horror where she's half rabbit.
Yeah, it turns into like a were-rabbit or something.
Like Wallace and Gromit. Yeah. Well, they did the episode where they parody the Island of Mystery, where there's a doctor who's turning people into half animals.
Yeah.
Dr. Monroe? Monroe?
Is it Monroe?
It's not Dr. Monroe, the character. I mean, it's...
Oh, right.
The story is called like Dr. Moreau's Fantastic Island or something.
Fair enough.
I can't remember, man. It's been... It's too late.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's all the trivia.
There we go.
But Marge is a panther in that episode is what I was getting at. She's not a rabbit woman.
Either way.
Yeah, I think in terms of this season overall, I like how experimental the animation is. They were still finding their footing, and that meant that they weren't afraid to take some massive risks. Yeah,
definitely.
In terms of the layouts and the way that the characters are presented and a lot of the animation.
And
the stories as well.
I did make a joke there about the fact that there's obviously a good reason why there's a supervising director. But it did mean that pretty much all the other seasons feel, well, from what I can remember, feel a lot more like The Simpsons, which is good. Yeah, and they all feel unified because each season is almost a different version of The Simpsons. It's different showrunners and different writers come and go. But
Each season feels unified because of that supervising director.
Whereas this doesn't, and I kind of like the fact that it's all over the place. Like, we shit on it a lot. Right? The fact that animation is terrible in some places. The fact that there's some really awful characters.
Which there are.
Yeah, and there's almost no character that hasn't gone through some drastic changes at some point in it.
Maybe Bart.
Maybe, yeah, aye.
And Maggie is a baby.
Yeah, Maggie, just a baby. There we go. But everyone else has gone through some serious either developmental or drawing style changes or color changes through this season. But I kind of like that they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with the show, and it shows that that's what they were still doing.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you a little glimpse into the fact that they're still finding their footing.
Yeah, it's an interesting time capsule, but I'm glad the show didn't.
Oh no,
continue
it didn't stay
like
that.
this.
Yeah. I'm glad it went the way it went.
A fun one-off
for sure.
I'm ready to wrap it up, man.
That is good for me. My stomach's been rumbling for the last 20 minutes.
Me too. Let's go get some food.
Yeah.
This has been Insert Brain here, a Simpsons podcast. I've been your host, Connor. With me, as always, has been my co-host, David.
That's me.
This has been the season 1 recap. It's been an hour and a half, just about.
Christ.
A long-ass episode, but it's been an honour.
Yeah, it's been
great.
We
hope you enjoyed these 14 episodes, and we will be back.
It took us 14 weeks.
We'll be back next week with Season 2, Episode 1. Bart gets an F.
All right.
Fair
enough.
And we'll be here every single week until we finish The Simpsons.
and every single week until we finish all the other podcasts.
Oh, so many other podcasts.
So very many.
Did
we bite off much more than we could chew? Yes, we fucking did. And we're going to do it anyway.
I'm going to keep biting until I get to the centre of that Tootsie Pop roll. This has been a T for 22 production. Smell you later.
Yep. Have a good one.